Good morning, and today's going to be 4-3. We are in the cutoff. 10 NL, mid position player hijacked, open raises. We fold with 4-3, small blind calls, and two players take the flop. So we've got 2K hands on him. He's playing 20, 17, 8. Looks to be a decent, solid player. Over 2,000 hands is 152. $52. It's pretty good. Mid position stat 18%. He does raise first in 21%, so we're looking at that like 18% range here. This is 19%, so if we narrow it down, we can possibly do something like this. We could leave in king 9, queen 9. I'm gonna leave it as 19% here, and go with it. Maybe we can drop those and just keep suited connectors. Didn't include 2s, 3s, and 4s. So even though he has 2,000 hands, we don't have like individual notes where we've looked to see what he's like raising first in with and so forth. So kind of disappointed in myself for that. But then again, these 2,000 hands could have all come, I'd say, in the last month. And in that last month, I didn't really go through massive number of hands to view him. So anyways, this is his range. This guy's range, one hand. I know when I did here, I saw that we had a call 2-bet from blind. I didn't look at the hand. I think it must be list hand since we only have one hand in the database. So I just kind of went with the default range here against raise first in, kind of pocket pairs, some of these suited broadways, couple suited connectors, and then like your ace queen, king queen offsuit hands that players usually like to play. So this is about 10%. I assumed queens plus ace king would be a 3 bet. So we're going to the flop of king 10-6. All right, so now we have a lead, and then you have a 3 bet, and then you have a call. So this is unusual. When we see donks, and they don't happen a whole lot, but when they see donks, usually it's a top pair with a weaker kicker. They're betting to see where they're at. So when we look at the top pairs, the only top pairs I have is king queen, king jack. So I guess we're gonna have to do this. I guess even with king queen, maybe. King jack seems much more likely. So we could do like 50% with king queen and leave 100% king jack. I also think like jacks are in that range, and possibly even the middle pairs. They're all hands that are they're trying to gauge where they stand in a hand like this. Now it's great when the player that has initiative sees this, and then they can easily raise with a wide range of hands and apply pressure back onto this player. And then the question becomes are they going to call with everything, or are they only going to be calling with their top pair hand? So when he raises here, you can see we don't really have a whole lot here on the flop. We've got pre-flop. We're going to flop. We've got raise, and if we're looking at raise percentage, we got 31% raised donk. So he's going to be raising it. He's aware of this play. So I think what you're looking at is probably raising top pair plus, probably raising open ender, probably raising the gut shot. Definitely the open ender. Let's color code just so we can see what percentages we're dealing with. Yeah, I would do that. This gets to 57%. I think that is reasonable. a reasonable raising range. He's got some draws in there that's going to be balancing some of his stronger hands. Maybe he has something else. Maybe he has some of these lower pairs that he's just going to attack, and he knows that he's using them basically as a bluff at this point. Like his c-bet stats actually looks pretty good on the flop, and then on the turn he seems to get a little bit more truthful in his turn c-bets, but still, I think it's okay. So maybe he's got some of these weaker pairs too that he's just doing it as a bluff. We'll leave those out because we're unsure. All right, then this guy calls. So here's the question: is he going to call with all of these, or is he just going to fold? So in terms of draws, you've got Queen Jack out there. You've got some of the gut shots out there. It's possible that he donks and then calls with weak pairs just to see what happens. Some players get money in the pot and they don't want to be done with it. But I think generally when you have the middle pair and one of these under pairs bet, generally they're just going to fold. Even like an ace 10, queen 10. So what we're going to do is this. Is we're going to say 33%. A third of the time, maybe he calls with ace 10. And maybe he calls with those hands. I'm going to say 100% he just folds 10-9. And then here with jacks, I'm going to say the same thing. 33%, maybe he calls them. Just because if he gets another Broadway card, some of those, his hands could be connecting, improving to a gut shot draw at that point. I'm going to leave all of the top pairs in. So I think we're good. 7 of hearts comes out on the turn. He goes check, check. So I'm not surprised by this guy check, but then this guy checks. We're going to get rid of sets, straight sets, 2 pair. I think we're going to get rid of the over pair. Top pair, I think ace king continues betting. Kind of think king queen would. We're going to set this to 50%. Say 50% of the time he would have continued. And I'm going to say even fewer. So maybe 66% of the time, or 75% with king jack. King jacks, I think, king jack and king 9, I think, are leaning more towards checks in this spot. We'll say 75% for king jack and then 100% for king 9. That's definitely in there. I think flush draw has improved enough to where he's probably betting it. So we're going to X the flush draw out. And then the open ender, I think, again, it's good enough for him to be betting. Get everything else set. All right, so of the hands, 42% are going to be checking behind. All right, king of diamonds comes out, which is kind of interesting because it reduces the number of kings that are out there. So now he bets and he calls. And I'm just kind of thinking about who has the king. And at this point, I think I'm kind of leaning towards him. He's got a king. I mean, this guy could have a king too. Maybe they both have kings. Is there anything else that he would have? I mean, they missed all of their draws. Like the flush draw missed, straight draw missed. So I think it makes sense for small blind to have kings. I mean, it matches what he's donking with. But this guy, I guess, would he raise at all? I'd like to think they would raise, like a king queen, ace king, but ace king would have continued betting. So yeah, we've got 3 of a kind. I just don't think the weak pairs or ace highs are going to be calling. So I think it's going to be possibly kings versus kings. Just kicker decision. So he shows ace 9, which is crazy. He called the bluff catcher, and he has the king queen. So we've got him. We didn't have him. Why he called in this spot is maybe he thought he was getting bluffed. I think the donk and then the call of the raise makes me give a pair. I'm not going to be calling without a pair. So this is interesting situation. So just for the post flop play, really. So he RFI'd 3 big blinds, I believe. Yep. And hijack with ace 9 clubs. He is in position. He raised versus 50% donk. And then he checked, and then he called 50%. On a king of hearts, 10 of diamonds, 6 of spades, 7 of hearts, king of diamonds. All right. So we called hijacks, 3 big blind, RFI in small blind with king queen. Check and then bet 50%. There we go. Not thrilled with the donk. I mean, when you lead, you're going to have bluffing range along with that, along with the value, and I just don't see it a whole lot. I just see a lot of top pair hands or under pairs. That's about it. That's the issue I see. And normally you don't even have like really solid value hands. Occasionally you get it. And I think we reviewed a hand a few weeks back where a guy donked, and he actually was donking because he flopped trips. Either he flopped trips or 2 pair, and that's it. I mean, it's a tough way to. It's going to be tough to play against a lot of those players, or those players that are capable of doing that, because this top pair weak kicker is unreliable. You know, that read starts to become more unreliable the more hands that the players start to put in there. So I think generally speaking, at the 10 NL game, you see more of these type of players. So you can, you know, he bets, and again, with this player, I think I would be raising with some weaker hands, some under pairs, some draws, some gut shot draws. And then, you know, you missed, you know, you might not continue with it. But if you improve in some way, like hearts, and you pick up a backdoor flush draw on the turn, that's a great card to continue betting on the turn and really puts pressure back. Now, when he raises, he's indicating he's got a decent hand, and then he calls, I think eliminates, like the 10x hands, it eliminates, let's say, most if not all of the 10x hands. It eliminates any of like the 9s or 8s or even the 6x if he was going to donk with those types of hands. I think jacks might still be in his range. He might call with them, but oftentimes against those range, you're going to get those weaker hands just go ahead and fold. I don't think any of the top pair hands fold against raise. So they call, and then on the turn, when he checks, it's his guy to really attack again. And this is one of those situations where if he thinks the flop raise is going to fold out all of those under pairs, then the only hands that remain are going to be the king X hands, and this guy's not going to fold the king X at that point. So there's no point to try to continue bluffing at the pot. And that's actually one of those things that you can probably adjust your range of what you're going to raise um, in that spot. You know what you're going to raise on the flop if you think he's going to fold everything, like all of the underpairs and all the 10x hands. Then it's kind of like there's no point to just make a pure bluff. You want to have something because you know that you're not going to be able to get him to fold in any other time after that. So yeah, I think the turn. I like the check. I like the check for the reason that I think at this point we kind of put him on a king X hand. The river call I don't like at all. Again, you'd think he has a king X, so why are you calling with ace X with ace high? You're calling basically to bluff catch. I don't think he's bluffing. I think he has the king X hand. That's it. Now he could think he could come back and make a raise, but again, the raise doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense if you have if you have a full house at this point. Because if you had a full house, that means you had either trips on the turn or you had two pair on the turn. And I think both of those hands should have continued to bet. So this guy made the mistake. He should have just flat out folded. All right, so I think we're gonna end here. Hopefully you enjoyed this. This is I think hand number 99 of just reading two players, not even looking at my own hands. And I think what we might do is get back and look at some of the hands that I played recently, just to continue, hand reading on those. But I'm not even sure if I'm going to continue doing the video recordings and the postings. Still working through them. And that's good, and it's taking notes and everything, but it's keeping me not necessarily motivated, but it's keeping me accountable for doing these exercises. So we'll see. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.